In the future, the best VR MMO game was created, a game so realistic it could stimulate all 5 senses of the players. But it was so realistic that it failed because people didn't like it being that realistic. Games should be games, after all. 10 years after the fall of the golden age of VR MMO games, Hiroshi is having a conversation with his teacher, Mr. Yasuoka, about his plans after graduation in the boring high school staff room. The teacher tries to convince Hiroshi to return to running track, but Hiroshi is reluctant. Outside, Hiroshi meets his friend Takafumi, and they talk about the useless conversation he had with Yasuoka. Their chat leads to Hiroshi wanting to go home and play video games, bringing up an incident that happened 2 years ago. While walking home, 2 acquaintances extort money from him. Although he's annoyed because his day is trash, Hiroshi looks forward to getting his copy of Finalizing Quest, a VR MMO game he pre-ordered. But due to his bad luck, he's 1,000 yen short and can't buy the game. Lamenting not being able to get the game at the lowest price he found online, Hiroshi sees a game store called Kisaragi. Inside the store, Hiroshi sees a 3-year-old game and asks the clerk if they have FQ22 in stock. The clerk goes on a rant about how long-running game series become inferior over time. Still, people keep buying and playing them no matter how bad they get compared to the start of the series. The clerk also compares this to manga, and although Hiroshi agrees, he doesn't care and just wants the game. Just as he's about to leave, the clerk offers him a game for 10,000 yen. Assuming it would be FQ22, Hiroshi buys it without hesitation, but the game turns out to be Kiwin Quest. Annoyed that it's not FQ22, he tries to return it, but the clerk convinces him to keep it by saying it's an adult game. On his way home, Hiroshi learns that the game is about 10 years old, and when he tries to contact the store, he gets no response. At home, Hiroshi has an incident with his sister Keed and goes to his room to start playing. As the game begins, an angelic lady with long brown hair tells him that, as a hero, he must save the world of Oberdeen. The first task is to leave the city and head to Flora Castle. Waking up in a room, Hiroshi marvels at the game's environment and praises its realism, even feeling pain. A young girl named Alicia enters the room and calls Hiroshi by his username, Hiro. She claims to be his childhood friend and says they were supposed to pick apples that day. Perplexed, Hiroshi tries to confirm if he's really in a video game and accesses the save screen. Just then, Martin, Alicia's older brother, enters the room and checks on Hiro's condition. Martin laughs and gives Hiro an apple, who notices how realistic the smell and feel of the apple are. Remembering the angel's words about going to Flora Castle, Hiro asks how to leave the city to get there. Alicia and Martin, terrified, try to dissuade him, saying the guards will arrest him if they find out. Determined to leave the city, Hiro is stopped by Martin to prevent what they call exurbance. Due to Hiro's amnesia, Martin explains that the city is isolated from the outside world by goblins roaming the area. Confident he can handle the goblins alone, Hiro accepts a practice fight with Martin to prove his resolve. In the fight, Hiro is defeated and, in a fit of rage, knocks Martin down while he was eating an apple with a knife. Martin accidentally dies, and Alicia, in a rage, chases Hiro out of the house. Deep in the city, Hiro encounters the game store clerk, Riona, who appears in front of him as a fairy. In short, she's using an avatar to help him throughout the game. She then explains that the necklace he's wearing also indicates his title in the game, which says Best Friend Killer. From the start, Riona tells Hiro that his creepy title can't be revoked, nor can his data be erased or reset. Obviously, you can't reset or erase someone's real-life history, and the game's system is based on this premise, working only with an autosave feature. The only way to get out of this situation would be to buy a new console, which would cost him 90,000 yen, and it turns out Riona sells one in her shop for 120,000 yen, which is way overpriced. Frustrated, Hiro asks for a refund, but she refuses since her shop has a strict no-returns policy. Taking a more logical approach, Riona suggests they look for another player named Jinji in the game to help them out. Turns out, when the game was released 10 years ago, he also killed his best friend. Before going to see the player, Riona has Hiro check his right pocket and finds 30 gold, suggesting he buy some cheap clothes. Currently, rumors about Martin's death have spread, and there's a wanted poster with Hiro's face on it. So, at the clothing store, Hiro buys some clothes that originally cost 15 gold, but due to his criminal record, the price inflates to 25 gold. As night falls, they head to the casino where Genji is likely due to his gambling addiction. On their way there, Riona explains the history of the city they're in, called Ted. Eventually, they are confronted by a psychotic Alicia in a dark, narrow alley, planning to kill Hiro in revenge for killing Martin. Wielding the same knife used to kill her brother, Alicia attacks, and Hiro manages to flee the scene. Near a cabin in the woods, Hiro earns a new title, and tired of playing the game, he tries to log out, but he can't because he's still in combat. Out of nowhere, Alicia appears and attacks Hiro with her knife, cutting his left palm. Riona, coming to Hiro's aid, attacks Alicia's eye, and Hiro escapes once more as Alicia vows to kill him. Finally, Hiroshi can log out and feels relieved, but wonders how much time has passed since he ran like that. The next day, at Hiroshi's house, Riona sends him a message to play more Kiwing Quest with her. Later, at school, Hiroshi talks with Takafumi about his experiences with KQ. However, Takafumi thinks playing video games is outdated and childish and that Hiroshi should someday confront his so-called friends. Back home, Keed scolds Hiroshi for the loud noises he made last night. After his argument with Keed, Hiroshi logs back into the game. In the game, his hand injury is still there, and he finds a medicinal herb to heal it, but due to the game's realism, he doesn't know how to use it. At that moment, a burly individual approaches Hiro and notices that he has found a new NPC. Hiro realizes the man is Genji, and after Genji helps him heal his hand with the herb, they go to the casino and talk business. 10 years ago, Genji killed his best friend named Enrique and another friend using judo techniques. He then details his encounter with the only person who managed to beat the game, named Kamui, and his title in the game. Impressed by the title, Hiro comments that it's better than his, to which Genji responds that his title is ruthless. From there, Genji helps Hiro by unmasking him and shouting that the best friend killer is there and calling the city guard. Continuing from last time, Genji announces to everyone in the casino that the wanted fugitive, Hiro, is there, much to Hiro's dismay. Genji then informs the surprised Hiro that if he manages to survive the interrogation, he'll be free. The city guard arrives and informs the stunned Hiro that he is under arrest. Panicking, Hiro tries to escape, but Genji puts him in a judo lock and immobilizes him. The city guard takes over and pays Genji a few coins for his trouble. Giving Hiro one last piece of advice, Genji tells him not to confess to killing Martin or he'll be imprisoned. It turns out that Genji served 13 years for his crime and is currently on probation. Outside the casino, the city guard leads Hiro through the city as onlookers watch and murmur about him. When the guard stops in the middle of the city, the curious crowd starts throwing objects at Hiro while insulting him. Desperate, Hiro tries to negotiate with the head guard, claiming he is the hero, but the guard dismisses it as another delusional plea from a wanted individual. From a distance, Hiro sees Alicia watching the scene and pleads with the guards to imprison him. In the jail, the guard tells Hiro he will stay there until the proceedings for his trial are prepared. Frustrated, Hiro tries to log out of the game but can't because he is in the middle of a game event. An hour passes, and Hiro is still unable to log out, plus he starts feeling hungry and needs to use the bathroom. Cursing the game's realism, Hiro finds a foul-smelling bathroom, and just as he is about to use it, Martin's ghost visits him. Martin's ghost proclaims that Hiro killed him, but Hiro insists it was an accident. Martin demands that Hiro recite the promise he made under the apple tree, but Hiro doesn't remember what it was, thus triggering Martin's time event. Hiro then recalls Genji talking to two invisible people who weren't there and realizes they were the ghosts of his friends whom he had murdered. While grabbing Hiro's shoulder, Martin vomits an abundance of blood, proclaiming he lived longer. Soon, a young woman named Mizurisa arrives and takes Hiro out of his cell, leading him to a special room. Hiro misinterprets the situation as an adult event, but it is actually a punishment event. The Inquisitor Mizurisa plans to cut off Hiro's limbs, and being the sadist she is, she would thoroughly enjoy it. Just then, Riona arrives at the scene and apologizes for her tardiness, as she was watching Castle in the Sky again. Though Hiro is upset by the reason for her delay, he feels relieved that she can help him out of his situation. However, her help consists of cheering him on, because if he can endure the punishment, he'll be free. Unable to handle the pressure of his situation or contain the liquid in his bladder, Hiro wets himself. In a state of ecstasy, Mizurisa praises the urination as the best she's ever seen and wastes no time starting the punishment, but she is stopped by the guard from before. He informs her that the city guard captain, Tesla, wants to speak with Hiro. Elated to have avoided torture, Hiro discovers a new trick in the game since its launch 10 years ago and also earns a new title. Freed from his bindings, Hiro finally logs out of the game and proclaims he will never play it again. Hiroshi returns to the real world in a panic after almost going through a rather unpleasant event in the game Kyuukyoku quest. Immediately, Hiroshi checks himself to see if he had wet himself in real life, and to his relief, he hadn't. Looking at the Kyuukyoku quest game cartridge, Hiro notes how it is just like last time. In the past, we see the track incident that changed Hiro's life forever. That day, there were many scouts sitting in the stands hoping to discover new talent, even though it was a low-level track meet. Another interesting thing to note is that professional runner Tatsuya Moriguchi was present, who once raced against Hiroshi and won. Later, as Hiroshi heads to the bathroom, he bumps into former professional runner Mike McLaughlin, now a sports writer. Mike praises Hiroshi and says he looks forward to his race. Excited, Hiroshi says he'll do his best, forgetting that his bladder is still full. On the track, Hiroshi has a brief chat with Tatsuya about Mike McLaughlin's presence and that neither of them plans to lose. At the start of the race, Hiroshi falls behind, and when he tries to push himself to go faster, he trips and falls to the ground. Just as his friend Takafumi and teacher Yasuoka rush to check on him, Hiroshi wets himself. This was the event that haunted Hiroshi to the present and made him give up racing forever. Back in the present, Hiroshi argues with his sister Keed about playing loudly again. She also gets furious when he tells her he's quit playing the game. Key gets even angrier, saying he always quits things when they get tough. After school, Hiroshi visits Riona at her game store and tries to return the game he bought from her. However, Riona manages to persuade him not to and shows him a game guide website created by the only man who managed to beat Kyuukyoku quest, Soichiro Kamui. In it, Soichiro gives tips and tricks for all of Hiroshi's current problems in the game. However, all the tips and tricks are completely useless for Hiroshi's current situations in the game. Although frustrated, Hiroshi is convinced by a persuasive Riona to continue playing. Logging back into the game, Hiro continues where he left off and is guided to where the city guard captain, Tesla, is. Thanks to Tesla's help, Hiro was declared innocent of Martin's murder. But the villagers still chased him and branded him a killer, even throwing stones at him. Later, he went to the vocational information center to earn more money, but Hiro's rant angered the receptionist. It was revealed that she opened the employment office with money she earned from shady activities in her youth, and Hiro mocked her and her life choices. Riona's suggestion to Hiro, which turned out to be a bust, was to borrow money from a real player, Jinji. However, the plan failed because Hiro and Jinji got into an argument that escalated into a duel because Jinji made fun of Hiro. In the end, their fight was interrupted when the ghosts of Martin and Jinji's childhood friends scolded them. Riona scammed Jinji into paying for losing the duel, even though those terms were never agreed upon. Next, they went to Melissa's shop to buy smoke bombs. When Hiro asked how much 2 bombs would cost, he was shocked to see they were 50 gold each, and upon checking the bag, he saw they only had 60 gold. This enraged Riona, who was disappointed with Jinji even though she was the one who scammed him. After all that, Hiro had to pay an additional 10 gold as an entrance fee to the shop, leaving him broke. Eventually, Hiro and Riona returned to the house where Hiro accidentally killed Martin and began his bad game experience to retrieve his sword. There, he was ambushed by his old childhood friend, now a bloodthirsty Yandere, Alicia. Hiro tried to throw one of the smoke bombs, but it just bounced on the ground without exploding. Riona told him he had to light the fuse before throwing it, and he complained. Alicia attacked him, but unexpectedly, Mizurisa appeared and saved him, telling Alicia that Hiro was her prey. Alicia demanded answers from Mizurisa, who prevented her from avenging Martin's death. Mizurisa responded that Hiro had been exonerated of murder charges by Tesla, and Riona informed Hiro that Tesla had absolute judicial authority in the city. Therefore, if Alicia insisted on hurting Hiro, she would be breaking the law. Relieved by this turn of events, Hiro wondered how Mizurisa knew where he was. Mizurisa admitted that she was following him to interact more with him, which annoyed Hiro. Riona suggested he ask Mizurisa to join his party. Hiro thought it was a good idea but was surprised when Mizurisa proudly confessed she only followed the trail of his urine smell. Riona also informed Hiro that what Mizurisa said was true, as the smell was quite strong and wouldn't go away, as the game values realism. Agitated, Hiro was almost attacked by Alicia, but Mizurisa saved him by pulling him away. Although Alicia was informed of Hiro's exoneration, she chose to play dumb about it. Mizurisa then challenged Alicia, and the two fought. During the fight, Alicia dropped her knife, and taking advantage of the opportunity, Hiro threw it out the window. However, it turned out Alicia had 2 more knives and wielded them. Mizurisa confessed that her real motive for following Hiro to that place was to experience another accident with him. Mizurisa continued her fight against Alicia but was defeated. In a pinch, Hiro remembered some advice Soichiro Kamui gave in one of his online tutorial videos. Following the advice, Hiro groped Alicia, but it was useless, and he got kicked in the chest. On the ground, writhing in pain, Martin's ghost appeared, and Alicia enjoyed the feeling of her brother's presence. However, reconsidering what Kamui meant in his advice, Hiro confessed his love to Alicia and begged her to enjoy the rest of her life with him. This confused Alicia, who then ran out of the scene. Riona rejoiced that Hiro had overcome another challenge in the game. On the other hand, Hiro realized that up to that point, he had only played the game like a regular game and not as it should be played realistically. Hiro went to the Kinura tree and called out to Martin, whose ghost appeared. From there, the two spoke briefly, and upon taking Martin's hand, Hiro saw a flashback of when he, Alicia, and Martin were children. It was then that Hiro finally learned the promise Martin made him remember. The promise was that they would be friends forever. With that, Hiro and Martin finally reconciled, and Martin's ghost faded away. Upon gaining a new title, Hiro noticed smoke rising from various parts of the city. As soon as they get to the city, Hiro tries to ask a couple of citizens why everything's on fire, but they won't answer and just shove him to the ground. Confused by the lack of answers, Riona tells Hiro that everyone's panicking and just looking out for themselves. Riona then suggests asking the city blacksmith to remove the rust from his sword and maybe get some info about what's going on. Hiro follows her advice and finds out that goblins have invaded the city because the moat that protected it dried up for the first time in 50 years. Since the blacksmith doesn't want to stick around to derust Hiro's sword, he gives him quick instructions on how to do it himself and leaves. After spending some time using the sharpening stone and listening to the screams of the citizens, Hiro gets fed up with trying to derust his sword and decides to fight the goblins himself. However, Riona stops him, saying that the goblins are as strong as ogres and his chances of dying are 120%. She also reveals that if Hiro dies in the game, his game and console will be permanently damaged. She admits that Kiwame Quest is the worst game ever and that there have been multiple lawsuits against the game company for this design flaw. With no other options to progress in the game, Riona suggests logging out and watching another tutorial by Kamui. But before leaving, Hiro wants to take a look outside and see the goblins for himself. When he does, he sees a girl being harassed by a goblin. Hiro tries to save her, but Riona tries to dissuade him. At that moment, 3 city guards show up to protect the girl, but the goblin proves too much for them. Hiro asks if anyone in the game has ever managed to beat the goblins, as new players always avoid them when leaving the city. Riona says that only Kamui and another player named Shoichi, who became a famous boxer in real life, have beaten them. Determined to save the girl, Hiro is advised to at least wear the blacksmith's pants to get rid of the urine smell. Just as Hiro puts on his new pants, the last city guard dies trying to protect the girl. Without wasting time, Hiro jumps into action and rescues the girl, only to be intercepted by 2 more goblins. After putting the girl to safety and asking if she's okay, Hiro realizes the girl looks like his sister Keed. With the goblins closing in, Hiro tries to distract them, but one of them knocks him down and chases the girl. In his attempt to save her, Hiro unlocks a new ability that lets him run at incredibly high speeds. Now in the city center, Hiro and the girl are confronted by 2 goblins, but Tesla arrives and takes care of them with his extreme lightning sword attack. Riona then gives some info about Tesla, just as Amos arrives with a group of city guards. Tesla orders his men to guide the girl back home and put out the fires burning in the city. After receiving a new title in the game, Tesla asks Hiro if he would like to join the city guard as a mercenary. The offer excites Hiro, and he accepts despite Riona's doubts. With that resolved, Hiro saves and logs out of the game. The next day at school, Hiroshi talks to Takafumi about KQ, and it's clear that Hiroshi might actually like the game. That afternoon, Hiroshi walks home, thinking about what Takafumi said about liking KQ. At home, Hiroshi watches another Kamui tutorial and learns that the mission route he took has a survival rate of 0.1%. Considering his options on whether he should quit the game or not, Hiroshi watches Kamui's guide video on how to progress in the event line he chose. Kamui immediately criticizes the viewer for the choice, but details that if you've managed to be the best friend killer, the chances of success are higher. The next video in this guide is locked by a password, and Hiroshi enters it. Once again, Kamui criticizes the player but reveals that the odds have increased by 0.4% and details how to meet the standards of those odds. However, as a warning, Kamui says that following his advice may break the player. On the other hand, it's said that if you complete the SS rank Goblin mission, you'll uncover the mysterious truth behind Ted. After giving some final tips, the video ends, and Hiroshi reflects on how to proceed with his situation. Shortly after, Hiroshi heads to his sister Keith's room, gives her his second custard pudding, and tells her that he's going to keep playing until he reaches a good stopping point. His motivation is because he doesn't want to give up halfway like he did when he failed the race that ruined his life. Keith, uninterested in her brother's determination, simply rejects him and slams the door shut. With that resolved, Hiroshi logs into the game and meets Tesla, who guides him to Queen Govern's mansion. At that moment, Riona tells Hiro that she's seen the video of the mission line he chose and scolds him for not watching it earlier. Eventually, the group reaches Queen Govern's mansion, and after a brief introduction, the Queen hugs Hiro and wishes him good luck on his goblin-killing mission. Later, at the training grounds, Tesla introduces Hiro to the soldiers as a mercenary, as well as two other hired mercenaries, Granada and Palu. Continuing with his explanation of the situation, Tesla states that the goblins' goal is to attack and destroy Queen Govern's mansion. The goblins believe that if they destroy it, the entire city will fall. Once he finishes his explanation, Tesla leaves, and Hiro, Palu, and Granada are guided to their rooms by a guard named Bob. In Hiro's room, he talks to Riona, and once he's equipped with his armor, Bob arrives at his room. He informs Hiro that he'll be taking him back to the training grounds to start his sword and martial arts exercises. Though, Bob notes that Hiro isn't very muscular and asks if he was an undercover soldier in the past. Ignoring that, Bob takes the mercenaries to the training grounds where they're introduced to the instructor, Amos. After Amos's introduction, a soldier named Kathy approaches Hiro and says she was the one who took the girl home. Before they can shake hands, Amos stops them and immediately starts a fight with Hiro. The fight between the two begins, and Hiro is easily overpowered by Amos. However, Granada easily defeats Amos, causing him to withdraw for the day. Hiro tries to approach Bob and Kathy to have lunch with them, but they reject him. In the dining hall, Hiro eats lunch alone, noticing that he's been excluded by his peers. On Hiro's second day of mercenary training, he arrives at the training grounds, and Amos belittles Hiro's talent, making him practice strikes. While doing so, Granada mentions that Hiro killed his best friend and tries to start a fight with him. However, Kathy intervenes, asking Hiro to practice with her. From there, Hiro learns some useful tips and tricks on how to handle a sword. The next day, a mock battle takes place, and Hiro faces Granada, easily losing to his opponent. This makes Hiro realize that his life in the real world isn't different from his life in the game. Hiro is sitting in the training yard with Riona perched on his shoulder, lamenting how tough the game has become. Riona suggests he report everything to the help desk, but when he does, the worker there brushes off Hiro's case, blaming him for not having skills in the field and suggesting he quit. Frustrated by the useless trip, Kathy approaches Hiro to check if he's okay. Hiro pretends he is. Relieved to hear that, Kathy explains that the help desk mainly handles sickness and injuries. She also mentions she's religious and prays to the world's God for comfort and guidance, so Riona suggests they visit the local church to pray and trigger a mission flag. However, when they arrive, the priestess purifies Hiro by dumping a bucket of cold water on him and declares him purified. Keeping a positive attitude, Riona insists that Hiro's luck will change and that things will get better tomorrow. On the fourth day of mercenary training, Hiro continues to get defeated in sword practice by Granada, who along with Palu, tries to extort money from him afterward. Following Riona's advice, he tries to take on the seemingly weaker Palu but is also defeated. When Kathy tries to get Amos involved, Granada and Palu feign innocence. They then pressure Kathy to side with them, and she gives in, claiming she's not friends with Hiro and leaves with them. Laughing at the situation, Riona comments on how realistic the game is in these kinds of scenarios. Though Hiro is downhearted, Riona reassures him that she'll use her fairy magic to help him out. The next day of mercenary training, Granada's boots go missing, and he's furious since his grandmother made them. Soon, the boots are found in sewer water. Frustrated, Granada wonders who could have done this. Eventually, Granada's sword also goes missing, and everyone at the base searches for it, but to no avail. Later, the sword is found in the latrines, submerged in a toilet. After retrieving the sword from the toilet, Granada angrily blames Hiro for the recent pranks. Hiro denies being responsible, and the other mercenaries back him up, stating he's helped look for both the boots and the sword. A woman's scream is heard from the changing room, and Maria, the nurse, is upset over her missing panties. The panties are then found in Granada's bag, and he explodes in rage at Maria, claiming he would never steal her panties. The other mercenaries turn against Granada for his attitude and insubordination. Seeing no point in staying, Granada turns to Palu to join him, but Palu refuses, leaving Granada emotionally overwhelmed. Later, Amos informs all the mercenaries about Granada's departure, and at that moment, Tesla arrives with a letter. The letter states that Amos is responsible for the recent acts against Granada and that it was sent by none other than Palu. They start arguing until Tesla intervenes, asking the mercenaries for their opinion on whether Amos is fit to continue as their instructor. Kathy speaks up, saying Amos isn't fit for the job, and confesses the attitude of him and the others towards Hiro when Granada and Palu were bullying him. In light of this revelation, Amos is relieved of his position. That night, Riona admits to being behind the series of incidents, and Hiro receives a new devilish title. As a reward for reaching this point in the game, Riona says she'll reveal why she wants someone to complete the game. Riona tells Hiro that she met Kamui in the game 10 years ago. She approached him and asked him out, but he flatly rejected her because of her bust size. This made Riona vow to get revenge by making someone else beat the game and marry that person. Hiro, surprised that's the whole story, confirms it's true, and Riona declares that when they get married, they'll give Kamui the finger. Standing on top of one of the barracks, Hiro reflects on what he's learned about Riona's reason for wanting him to finish the game. Tesla joins him, apologizing for Amos and Granada's behavior, and they talk about the upcoming goblin invasion. Hiro almost lets slip that the goblins will attack the fort that night, as he read in a guide, but he retracts. Tesla then asks Hiro if he plans to leave the city after the goblin invasion, and Hiro reluctantly confirms he does. Amused by this, Tesla shows interest in the idea, and Hiro asks if he'd join him, but Tesla says he'll think about it. The way Tesla expresses his consideration makes Hiro think he might die during the invasion, so he decides to review the guide for more information. Upon waking in his room, Hiroshi is surprised to see his sister Keed in his room watching him closely. Initially, Keed is quite worried, noting Hiroshi's strange behavior and wanting to check on him. Realizing Keed is concerned, Hiroshi mentions it, but Keed vehemently denies that. This leads to an argument between them, and Keed storms out of Hiroshi's room. Hiroshi then reviews Kamui's guide and learns how to overcome the goblin mission. Finally, on the 6th day, the day of the goblin invasion, Hiro and the other mercenaries line up in the yard. Tesla announces 2 new recruits for the campaign, Alicia and Mizurisa. Riona is notably excited for Hiro to have his own harem, but Hiro is far from pleased with the situation. Before the goblin invasion, Tesla has the mercenaries scour the city for people who disobeyed the evacuation order. Hiro is confused because the goblin invasion isn't happening, and Riona speculates it must be a pre-event. Tesla approaches Hiro and assigns him to monitor the Eastern District, where Jinji is. Additionally, Tesla assigns Alicia and Mizurisa to accompany him. Though Hiro tries to argue that the two aren't a good match for him, especially Alicia, who wants to kill him for his past actions, Tesla assures him it's a great opportunity to make things right with her. In the city streets, Mizurisa expresses her concern about Alicia being part of their group, mainly because of their past altercation. However, Hiro mentions his own dislike for having her around, which makes Mizurisa cry. As Riona comments on how Mizurisa wouldn't want to kill him but maybe Alicia would, the person in question stops a purse snatcher by cutting off his right hand. Riona suggests Hiro should return the purse for a reward, but when he does, the owner faints due to the thief's hand still being attached to the purse strap. More and more thefts occur in the city, and Riona remarks that someone might be instigating all of them. They learn from the thief that the instigator is at the casino, and their Mizurisa and Alicia deal with the thugs while Hiro rescues the hostages. One of them is Jinji, who mentions he was going to be sold as a slave. Once the thugs are defeated, one of them reveals that Jinji is the real mastermind, and Jinji grabs and restrains Hiro. Jinji's motive was to distract the city guard and steal the leftover loot. Enraged by this revelation, Hiro breaks free from Jinji's grip, and they're about to fight, but Alicia intervenes, knocking out Jinji with a single blow. Afterward, all the perpetrators are arrested, and Jinji praises Alicia for her strength and ability. Satisfied that he'll be safe in a prison cell, Hiro advises Jinji to change his ways, but Jinji comments he's too old to change. Once Jinji and the other perpetrators are escorted away, Tesla congratulates Hiro on a job well done. Just as Hiro tries to downplay his achievement, saying it was all thanks to Alicia and Mizurisa, an alarm goes off warning that the goblins have arrived. At that moment, Hiro's bladder acts up, and he heads to the bathroom. Once he's done, Hiro sees a goblin peering through the bathroom crack and gets scared. As a goblin attacks Hiro, he calls out to Riona for help, but she does nothing. Thankfully, Mizurisa, who had followed Hiro into the bathroom, takes out the goblin. Hiro has his complaints, but he ultimately accepts the help. Mizurisa then asks if Hiro's sword is sharp enough for goblin fighting. When Hiro shows it to her, she takes it and stabs him in the left knee, causing him to scream in pain. Mizurisa gets a kick out of it and then tries to seduce Hiro to torment him further. Alicia arrives and puts a stop to their drama. Annoyed that Alicia interrupted her alone time with Hiro, Mizurisa tries to pick a fight with her. However, Hiro stops them, insisting they need to find Tesla, and runs off. Running through town, Riona catches up to Hiro, who's upset that she's more concerned about split ends than the current crisis. Riona suggests Hiro's stomachache is due to nerves and reminds him of a similar past incident. Hiro shares this with Riona, who laughs but then gives him a pep talk. Feeling better, Hiro and Riona head north to join Tesla. When they reach Tesla and his soldiers in the town center, they start fighting off a group of goblins surrounding them. Mizurisa and Alicia soon arrive and take on the goblins, ensuring Hiro's chances of survival. Just as Hiro is feeling optimistic, Bob and Kathy report that some goblins have breached the south gate. The leader of these goblins is someone Tesla fears, known as One-Eyed. Tesla and Hiro confront One-Eyed, and Tesla shares his past with the monster. As the battle continues, Mizurisa tries to take on One-Eyed but is knocked out with a single kick. Furious, Alicia joins the fight, holding her own against Tesla and One-Eyed. At that moment, a cage Tesla ordered arrives, containing One-Eyed's children. Showing a darker side, Queen Govern arrives, pleased that One-Eyed is dead. She reveals they keep the goblin children as hostages to control and isolate the city. With the city's dark secret exposed, she attempts to kill Hiro. Facing off against Tesla, Hiro recalls Tesla's desire to leave the city and asserts that he can't let him go without ensuring his survival. Despite feeling outmatched, Hiro learns that Tesla has an advanced version of his special move called Extreme Lightning Desperation. Tesla promises to show it as a farewell gift and uses the move against Hiro, but Alicia takes the hit. Hiro approaches Alicia and asks why she saved him after trying to kill him before. Alicia reveals that her brother, Martin, told her in a dream to forgive Hiro. She also confesses that she joined the guard to protect him. Happy to hear that Hiro wanted to marry her someday, Alicia dies in his arms. Briefly comforted by Riona, Hiro reflects on the game's realism and confronts Tesla. Surprisingly, Hiro manages to hold his own against Tesla's attacks, leaving everyone astonished. In a flashback, Kamui reveals that the game has an unknown trick. A player's emotions influence their stats, so an indomitable spirit means a better chance against tough challenges. Back in the present, Hiro fights Tesla evenly until his sword breaks. Just as he's about to be killed, Hiro is transported to the Kinura tree, where he finds Martin. They chat a bit, and Martin joins Hiro. Back in the game world, Hiro's broken sword transforms into a magical blade that shatters Tesla's sword. Hiro also gains a new title, and they face off again, but Hiro still loses in the end. Feeling demotivated, Hiroshi returns to Kamui's guide website and finds a video detailing a special way to reset the game 1 hour before death. Renewed with purpose, Hiroshi vows to restart the game in a month and save Alicia from her fate. With newfound confidence and determination, Hiroshi gets a new copy of the game and dives back into the most real game ever. And that's a wrap on our epic Keywin Quest adventure, where Hiro went from a total newbie to battling goblins, breaking swords, and uncovering dark city secrets. Will he manage to save Alicia in his next try? Find out in the next chapter. If you enjoyed these action-packed, dramatic, and funny summaries, don't forget to drop a comment and subscribe to my channel. Join this amazing community for more wild and exciting stories. See you on the next adventure, gamer.